Sacramento State is moving up to FBS in 2026, and they got money. They've raised over $50 million to use for NIL, letting them land players like Richest. So I want to rebuild them until we can get them a championship. They're moving up as an independent school though, which means I'm going to make us play 6 top 25 teams a year, and I'm also only allowed to recruit players from California. It'll make rebuilding the Hornets a bit more challenging, who do have some good talent. And I promise, this is not going to feel like a real stat. But Richest, our starting quarterback, has been at more schools, 5 of them, than he's thrown for touchdown passes in his career, 4. He still has 3 years of eligibility left as well, so it's going to be a challenge to keep him around. Looking at our schedule, you can see the more than 6 top 25 opponents. And on the recruiting side of things, I've been able to build out our board with only players from California. Juan Clay's the first player that I want to highlight. He's a gym quarterback as a field general with 92 throw power, 74 speed though, not normally my play style, and then we are going after 1 4-star with our NIL budget. If I was able to and there were more 5-stars from the state, I would have tried to go after some of them. Probably should have added some more 4-stars on here too. But we're going to keep things simple for season number 1, with our only goal being able to take down an FCS school. If you were just looking at our overall, you'd probably think that we don't stand a chance, but we have Richest, former 4-star quarterback that had potential, and we're going to be able to run it all the way to the 2. I really like what I've seen so far. We're about to go up 14-0 as long as they don't tackle us before we get in. And for the next 3 seasons, we're going to lean on this kid to carry Sacramento State. I think my biggest takeaway from this game has been that Sacramento State was ready to move up to this level, but there is still a chance the Royals come back in the final couple minutes. And with this onside kick, all we have to do is recover it. We snag it out of the air, so we're good. Just like that, with their first game at the FBS level, the Hornets pick up a win, though it was against an FCS school. And if you're thinking realistically, they won't make this move until next season, but we're just doing it a year early. Sacramento State will be in college football 27. We do have to face Utah next though. And it's not taking long for it to be the point in the season where I'm going to care a lot more about recruiting, because we could really land guys like Tyrese Newsom. What's going to hold us back though is once we get to the hard sell period, because there's not much that's going to be exciting to some of these players. But if they care about playing time, they're going to be able to get it here, because we just got smoked by the Utes 52-3. We all know how these first seasons in rebuilds normally go. I think what I want to do though is try out the motivator tab. It has been so long since I've done this in a rebuild. I want to see how high of an overall we can grow Richest. But that means since I won't be putting coach points into recruiting yet, we're just going to have to accept that we're not going to win every battle for 3 stars. I've also decided that for this rebuild, Stanford is going to be our in-state rival. But like the start of most rebuilds on this channel, we normally don't take down our rival until a few years into the future. After throwing an interception, this game ended 34-7, so we only scored once. And there's a reason I wanted to win our first game of the season so bad, because the rest of it's just going to be losses. Funny enough, one of the best players that we seem to have a good chance at signing so far is actually the 4-star running back, because we got a good hard sell on him. Championship contender, definitely needs to rise. But as time goes on, I'm sure that'll fall apart too, because we're just picking up loss after loss, and it's been a while since we've scored more than 7 points. We are really going to need some of our players to jump up in overall during the offseason. I'm going to go down to tier 3 for every single one of these position groups. I'm starting with offense just because I want our offense to be better than our defense first. I feel like I'm decent at playing defense. Offense is a whole other story. And if you take a look at our recruiting board, we have lost more battles than we have won so far. We've only been able to sign 2 players. One of them was a gym on our board though, and Tyrese Newsom's going to be a close call. We're the last school to have him on a visit, week 11 against Miami. By then he'll probably already commit somewhere, but I'm holding out just a little bit of hope, and UMass would be the other team we could take down if anybody. That didn't end up happening though. Even though we scored more than 7 points, it wasn't enough to beat them. And I think it's pretty obvious how our season finished, 1-11, but we can just build from here. The entire purpose of Sacramento State having 50 mil in NIL cash was so we could make signings like this, but Newsom decided he'd rather go to our rival Stanford. UCLA keeps plucking players away too, and I think we got San Diego State beat out for Brian Coffey, but all these California schools are getting on my nerves. We can only sign guys out of the state, and we don't have that many signings at the moment, so we're going to be back to leaning on this roster that just went 1-11. Richest didn't have a great first season here, but I think he's going to stick around. Our running back room had the worst year I think I've ever seen on this game, and you would think that meant we threw for a ton of passing yards, but we didn't have a receiver that crossed over 500. Everybody's getting fired. This is my program now. I'm taking over. I'm making sure that they are way better next year than whatever this was, and that's a hard thing to guarantee, but if you find coordinators that are big tacticians, you can make it happen. I did say that I wanted to go with more of that motivator build though, and even a recruiter would be nice, but I just can't pass up an opportunity to have a defensive coordinator with our exact defensive scheme, 3-3-5 tight. We got to bring him on. I normally wouldn't get coaches like this until season 6 or 7, but we have to play 6 top 25 teams a year, and I don't want to get annihilated. We got ran off the field by teams like this for 1 season, and I'm already over it. I did notice something weird about this playoff bracket though. Both Cincinnati and Jacksonville State made the playoffs without being in the top 25. That's the benefit of being a part of a conference, which we don't have the luxury of since we're an independent school. We can't get an automatic bid to the playoffs. And I think eventually Sacramento State will join a conference. They just haven't yet, so they aren't going to be in one in this rebuild, and that might be another reason these players want to leave. Going into the offseason period, we've only been able to sign 8 players, but at least all of them are 3 stars, and 3 of them are corners, so our cornerback room is going to be pretty solid. But outside of that, we're in a lot of trouble. It's time that we look at any transfers available from California, see who we can get, and that list is probably going to be small. I'm looking for guys that can make an instant impact, but there's not that much left available from the state of California, so we're also going to be targeting some punters and kickers. And there are some players that are so interested in just having a shot at playing time that they're willing to give us a chance. Not everybody though. Our class is going to finish with 23 stars because we lost a few more battles to end out the year, but I'm okay with it. We got Juan Clay, who's going to just have impact development. I was hoping for a little bit better out of him. And there was one guy that happened to have elite development, but you never notice it much on offensive linemen. He'll progress about the same as the rest. Sacramento State's first class is ranked inside the top 50. With all the changes that I made and the coordinators that I brought in to help, we've been able to build a 76 overall roster for season number 2. Our progression looks a lot better. And Zachary Bloom is a corner of ours that we got to keep a close eye on because he has a ton of skill caps available. He can develop so much, and he also is 99 speed. He's going to make for a good return man. I do think that Jaden Rashada's days of getting progression, though, have pretty much gone out the window. He's capped out around an 83. He can get a little bit more elusive and quick. But that's it for him. We still have 20 coach points that we can spend, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure our corners can progress even quicker. We have 5 of them on the field at once. With safeties, that is, and if you look at our schedule for year number 2, it opens up pretty tough. It doesn't get that much easier throughout it either. I don't know how we're going to do. If I had to guess, it's not going to be great, but we can go after the number 1 player in the country. He's from California, so I feel like we have to take those shots. But I should also start to consider some of our team needs because we have a lot of seniors and juniors on this team and not many underclassmen, so we got to fill out those spots too. When you take a first look at the guys that we're going after in season number 2, you're probably thinking, I'm out of my mind, and you are probably correct with that, but think about this. We didn't land the 3 stars that we wanted last year. So if we're already going to lose some of those first battles, why not try and land the 94 speed 4-star gem? Do I think it's going to work? Not really, but we have to get through these first few painful games anyway. And although our team overall is not that far off of the Cougars, it's not been a good day so far. It's taken us 3 quarters to find the end zone. And it seems like they're going to be able to do the same thing just a couple of plays later. I wish that this could have been a winnable matchup for us, but here at the end of the game, we're just going to throw another interception. They're going to probably have a chance at returning this as well, which is going to make the score worse. And I hope our team doesn't hang their heads too low because we were facing a top 25 program. Apparently though, that loss was enough for the 2 5-star recruits from California to immediately lock us out. And before you doubt our chances on the 4 stars too much, we're in first place for Bobby Lincoln. It's basically a guarantee that we're going to lose our next game as well. But you have to think, losing 20-17 to a top 10 team is not the end of the world. What would be the end of the world though was if this season we found a way to lose to the FCS school. Because this is the one game on our schedule that should be a win, and we need to keep it that way. If we don't, then we're not going to have as many fans out at these games as we do at the moment. And I like how much of Sacramento came out and supported their team throughout this game. Even though we're not the best in the world, we won 1 game last season. We've been able to put on a performance in this one. We've made sure that we have established ourselves. And we're clearly good enough to not be at the FCS level anymore, but we have to take another step forward to be at the FBS one. As time goes on in the season, it's seeming like we're not going to have any issues when it comes to losing battles for 3 stars this year, which is good news, and we have a chance at getting a couple of these 4 stars too, including the gym. I just fear that as we lose more games, all of that's going to fall away. But there was a nice surprise. Getting in some of the coaches that I liked has allowed us to take down Rice on the road, so we're currently sitting at 2-4. And although we haven't made any signings yet, we lost our 1 battle to UCLA, which we were winning up until that one last week. We are in a position where 3 of these 4 stars could still commit to our school. One of them's probably a lost cause, but the other 3 I have on a visit for week 9 against our rival Stanford. And if they still haven't committed by then, plus we pull it off, I think that's where we get some shocking news. It would certainly help us though to beat schools like UMass. Instead, they basically doubled our score. And that is what has catapulted Stanford in front of us for multiple of these battles, USC as well, so we're not winning those. We are 1 week away though from hopping into our 3rd and final regular season game of the year. And after being pounded by Ohio State, we need to win our final 4 to make it to a bowl. I'm pretty sure that going down the motivator tab isn't going to help us win a bowl game, but we're still going to continue to do this for our player development. Put in work. Tier 3 is the most effective part of this. And whether or not we sign multiple 4 stars comes down to this moment. I went after some of the pieces that I did in that first year so we could have an opportunity in this game to beat Stanford. And as you can see, in the 3rd quarter, we're up by by 1, but we're also going for it on 4th and 2. That was probably not my wisest decision, but they aren't going to be able to throw it anywhere. We're going to miss a tackle, and then clicking onto another player gets him in. I am so bad at open field tackling on this game. That could have been picked. But by the time there was only about 4 minutes left, we'd tie things back up, and then they made a great throw. I think at some point, we're just going to have to bring a blitz. Good play action from them to go all the way to the crib. And if Jaden Rashada can carry us down the field, then we're going for the 2-point conversion. It's not looking like that's happening, though. On 3rd and 23, we just wanted to get a few yards. But our offensive line hasn't believed in giving us any time, so we're going to have to playmaker over the zones on 4th down, and this is going to be out of reach. Even if we didn't come out on top, it felt like a great effort. I'm hoping that those 4-star recruits still will consider Sacramento State. And I'm here to tell you, we do still have a slight chance. It's just not a good one. Stanford is really beating us out right now at basically everything. Well, there it is. Bobby Lincoln, who I mentioned at the beginning of the season, has come to the Hornets. Now, I don't want to talk about how much we had to pay him. What's crucial is we made this happen, so more will follow in the future. Even if it's not this season, I would have loved to have John Kellen. There's a lot of players, though, that switch up at the last second. Like, you can see Fresno State is making a massive gain on us. And if I stay committed to only going after 3 stars again, we're going to be stuck with a very small class. Our final game of the season was against Toledo, where it looks like JC went off for a bit. And that means I am happy to say that we finished out the year 3-9 instead of 2-10. As long as we're making progress, I'm happy with it, and Jaden Rashada threw for twice as many touchdowns, so that counts as progress. Josh Carrera, our running back, was able to average 3 yards per carry. Last year, our best running back was only able to get like 150 yards. And we had 3 guys over 500 receiving yards, where if you remember last year's stats, we didn't even have 1 player touch those numbers. Unfortunately, though, things aren't progressing as well as you might think. We just lost a lot of good starters to graduation, and on top of this, you haven't seen how many battles we've lost. We've only been able to sign 7 players. Another 3 guys went to other California schools. Fresno State has been our biggest issue so far, and there's no guarantees that we're going to get these players either. We have just 11 players on our board at the moment. There's 1 transfer that would consider playing for Sacramento State from California, but he's a QB. And I've been left in a position where I have to start really considering going after some 2-star recruits. I think next season we need to start putting some energy into our recruiting tree, because as you can see, we're getting locked out of Jason Lake after having a correct hard sell on him. We're losing another battle to another school. And I don't know if this says more about us hitting rock bottom or UCLA, but we lost a battle on a 2-star, so we couldn't even get that going right for us. We did find another player with elite development, though, this athlete run stopper. And I'm not sure if this class is even going to be ranked inside the top 100. It was right outside it. Although some players like Desmond Ivy have progressed up to an 87 overall, and we have an 80 overall team, knowing how few guys are on this roster, I'm going to have to go after 1 and 2 stars next season. We only have 57 of our 85 slots filled, and I'm pretty sure we're about to lose another 20 players. So I need to somehow be able to sign a full class of guys from California, and there's only one way that I know how to actually do it. It's not going to be fun, it's actually gross, but I know that there's going to be no one else going after some of these players. But then I realized there were unlimited 1 stars to choose from, so we might as well go for the 2 stars until we stoop that low. Funny enough, while offering a bunch of these player scholarships, we have now gotten 2 insta commits on 3 stars, but I didn't get a single insta commit on any of the 2 stars. And if you take a look at our schedule, it starts off a little bit easier for us before it just goes straight downhill. I have 7 top 25 teams on here again, not just 6. When it comes to prospects I actually care about landing, besides just putting bodies on our roster, Scotty Crabtree is the only player. He has 94 throw power. He's a 3-star gym at QB. And then for the rest of these guys, I'm just going to hope that over the course of the season, some of these 2 stars decide on our school. That's the hope. We offered them a scholarship, and then we're going to put more points into other 3 stars. Those guys had Sacramento State at the top of their board going into the year, so if we still can't sign them, then we're just cursed. And you might have noticed, it is about time that we face our other in-state rivals, Fresno State. They've stolen so many recruits from us that we're now about to play against all of them. I wanted to make them feel like they made the wrong decision, and so far we have, as we have a 2-point lead going into the final minute. But if we let them get into field goal range, then it's going to be super hard to close this one out. We're just going to have to play some good coverage defense out there. We aren't getting like any pressure on the field. And that's why we are going to our last resort option, just send in a blitz. The good thing is they're probably going to think that we're going to do it again, but out of this formation, we could drop back into coverage. They're still going to be in field goal range. Or maybe they're not. It's 4th and 5. They aren't kicking their 3. They're going for it. He tried to scramble. What is that coverage? If they weren't going to kick from where they were at on the field before, they will from here. But maybe we can cause them to lose a couple of yards by sending everybody, and we almost got that. They didn't run it the last time, but they do right here. They're in range. We're going to have like no time to respond. And this is unfortunate because we played so well throughout the game, except they have missed it. We have gone out and beaten Fresno State, our rivals. And I am hoping at least 1 or 2 of their players enter the transfer portal and come over to join the Hornets during the offseason. So far, I'd say things are going pretty smooth for us, though I could see us losing this game. But maybe not if Carter Sticks getting a couple sacks. We ended up holding them to 10 points while scoring 37. California is our next matchup. I have a feeling that one's going to be pretty difficult too. But let's see how far we can really take Sacramento State. I know that we're going to lose a lot of games in the future. With that in mind, this felt like another one that we should probably try to play, though we need to make a catch on third down. And that is a huge deal for us because we're in the process of trying to close this out. You can look up on our offensive line and see that we're a bit undersized. We have guys playing there that should not be there in the first place. I wasn't kidding about our recruiting needing some major help, but it isn't going to matter since I recruited a kicker a year ago and all we have to do to go up by 10 points is drill this one. We've been in this good of a position basically all game until I let them back into it in the fourth quarter, but this interception is going to seal it. And I have no idea how this team has just started the year 3-0. It really is not that talented. Things are bound to fall apart soon. But under some miracle, we just beat Penn State 14-10. This doesn't even make sense. There is no way that I thought we'd actually have a shot at making it to a bowl game, but if we can just beat a team like Oregon State and Sim, I can hop in against UNLV, we'd have 6 wins. And with all of that going in our favor, I thought Scotty Crabtree was a lock, but he would rather be a part of the US military. I really appreciate him for that, but he could have just come to Sacramento State, collected a bag, and played football for us instead of enlisting. And he's not going to be the only 3-star that we lose out on. I really regret choosing to rebuild a school in California because every single California school goes after the 3 stars that we want. And after falling to #1 Clemson, this is the biggest game on our schedule that we're going to have to sim. It didn't go the way that we wanted it to either, but luckily, a week later, we beat UNLV on the road. So there's 5 games left on our schedule. I can hop into one of them, and all we have to do is win one to be bowl eligible. So it's all about choosing the correct game, but I don't think Purdue's the right choice. I've dogged on them in the past, which their football programs deserved, but they were an 85 overall team. They beat us by 8. And I'm not sure if Washington State's the correct opponent either, because they're an 86. Now, if we just take a quick look over at recruiting, I put 25 hours into all of these 2-stars, but I'm not sure it's going to win us those battles for those guys either. UCLA ended up getting those couple of prospects. Stanford got another. So it doesn't matter who we target in the state of California. We can't win. We weren't able to win against Washington State either, and now we have an issue. We had to face Texas and Tennessee on the road next, which means we weren't winning those either, and we have left our bowl eligibility up to whether or not we can beat Rutgers. At one point, they were ranked pretty highly, so I was not looking forward to this, but they're the lowest overall team near the end of our schedule. And I wish I could say that we still had a chance in this one, but even if we somehow managed to score a touchdown on this play, which we're coming closer to, we would need to get the onside kick as well, because we've already used one of our 3 timeouts, but we are going to have that opportunity. I really wish that we were in a better spot than this, but the fact that we're even sitting at 5-7 alone is a miracle, and I'm going for the 2-point conversion for no reason. That just made our chances of winning this game even lower. That's a short kick, but they have good hands, so they pick it up. And there it is. We're going to close out the year 5-7. It could have definitely been worse, but we've been sitting here targeting 2 stars. And that's going to have to be our foundation for the rebuild, at least for the ones that we're able to sign, because we just haven't been able to get enough 3 stars. See, even look at this. Fresno State running away with it. In fact, after taking all the 2 stars off of our board, what I find kind of funny is we sign more 3 stars than 2 stars by a long shot. And even as I try to close out a couple of these battles, you're going to see UCLA coming out of nowhere to steal that 2-star. I've just seen it happen too many times now to where I purchased the recruiter tree and we have 45 coach points to spend. I just don't know which positions I'm going to put it into. I'll probably figure it out at the beginning of next season. Jaden Rashada is finally graduating. He had his best season yet. Only a 51% completion percentage though. I can say that I'm happy Josh Cutrow's graduating though. Just 2.1 yards per carry. That is a huge step back from last year. I don't want to be losing Wysung. I also don't want to be losing our best receiver, Desmond Ivey, but it's just how it goes. He's our best player now gone. At least our second best player, Cole Creech, is only a sophomore. I have a feeling that he's not going to progress that much more. He is normal development, but a couple of his skill caps haven't maxed out yet. That's some good news. I will say though, with only being able to recruit in California and having so many players stolen away from us in this rebuild, it's really hard to see a bright future. I just have to keep on hoping that nobody wants to transfer out and we can keep around the guys that we actually get to sign. If I've learned anything from this year though, I think it's just ignore the 2-star recruits. We did better with the 3 stars anyway, despite going after both. And when it comes to the transfer portal, there's only one player from California that we could target, but I'm just not going to go all in on a tight end. I'm just going to cast a wide net of throwing points around on all of these players, seeing what sticks, and seeing who will give us a chance. I think that ended up being the best decision that I could have ever made, because from the looks of it, we're about to sign 25 players, with most of them being 3 stars. There might not have been a player with elite development in this class, but I picked up like 4 quarterbacks, so we're going to be able to choose between all of them and see who is actually going to be good enough to start oh, there's 5. And then if we scroll down this board, we should be back inside the top 50 with our recruiting class right there at 48. I always have to check this though to make sure that we're only recruiting players from California. Somehow a few guys snuck in from other states, including 2 of the 2 stars, so we're gonna have to make sure that they aren't on the roster. And my way of doing that is just finding them, moving them over to kicker, and then that makes it easy to cut them. The next important thing I need to do is I need to figure out who our future quarterback's gonna be. Between those 4 guys, our final athlete, Bobby, I'm just gonna move him over to halfback since he already has 90 speed. We don't need 5 QBs. And I can start narrowing these 4 down by just looking at their dev trait. All I'm seeing is normal so far, but Alani Whiteheart is the one impact. That means he might be the guy that we lean on a couple years from now, but if you haven't forgotten, in season 1, I recruited Juan Clay. He is now up to an 80 overall. He has 2 seasons left with us to where he can have a lot of success. And I might as well start using some red shirts because that's why we're not going to have him around for an extra season. I just hope that with this schedule, he can have some success because although there has to be 6 top 25 teams on it, we saw what happened last year. We had a real chance at making a bowl. As I start to build out my board for this next year, I have found Sam Biggs at quarterback. He doesn't have the most impressive stats in the world, but I'm getting him because he's a gem. And if we're ever going to have any success in recruiting, what I'm going to have to do is I'm just going to have to purchase down to tier 2 for a lot of positions where we can recruit many players like our offensive line. It is so crucial for recruiting actions to get a bonus, but for quarterbacks and running backs, I don't want to spend coach points on it yet because I feel like that's just a couple of positions, whereas these cover multiple ones at the same time. That's going to run us out of coach points, and we still haven't even touched the tactician tree, but that's where our coordinators are going to be covering for the time being. And I really just see this season as another one for us to build because we only have 350 hours to spend a week, which is the lowest we've ever had. If we can't find a way to raise our team prestige, giving us more weekly recruiting hours, and have that foundation that could even grow to be a solid roster, then we're never going to be able to compete for a championship. And that means that if we ever lose to an FCS school, it's going to be crushing for the program. If Carter Stick can play like this all year though, getting 6 sacks in one game, I don't see how we'd lose a lot. And here's the thing, every season we've won 2 more games than we did the year before. I just don't know if I see this team winning 7 games with this schedule. I think for us to have a long shot at making that happen, we're going to have to hop in against California again. But with the rain and a new quarterback, we just haven't played that well offensively. There's been lots of missed passes, lots of miscommunication. Clay's trying to make plays with his legs, but he's not fast enough. And I finally started to figure out things as we ended the 4th quarter, but it was far too late because they got off to a great start. Then the next week, we faced the Bulldogs, so we might be going under 500 the rest of the season. And if we can't get a really lucky result like we did against Penn State, a bowl is going to be out of the question. We lost an extremely talented receiver though, a senior quarterback with experience. It makes sense why we're going to take a little bit of regression, a step back. And every so often, we'll face a weaker opponent like Louisiana, who we destroy. If we can just play that well against Mississippi State, we'd be in a pretty nice spot. And I don't believe that they're actually this good. There is no reason that the Bulldogs should be ranked inside the top 5. It is before SEC play though. They probably haven't had to face anybody too challenging yet, which includes us, but we could come out on top. With just 3.5 minutes left, we find ourselves only down by 3, but we just dropped the ball on the ground. They're able to scoop it up. And we've got to get that ball out a little bit quicker. What type of coverage are we running? That was supposed to be cover 3. It clearly didn't do anything for us. And our offensive line might as well have just not shown up for this game because we're going to lose for sure. I also think that we just lost one of our receivers for the rest of the year. The way that he got hit with that tackle, we're going to throw this ball up, but it's not going to be caught. And Mississippi State did a little bit of damage control at the end to make it look like it was never close. It's actually all right though, because we have never had this hot of a start to recruiting. We're no longer losing those battles to other schools, mainly because of the upgrades that we went with. And we haven't even put any extra hours each week into the players yet. Once I think we have a chance at signing 4 and 5 stars, we'll have to do that, but for now they're not going to want to come to our school. We've started the season 2-6. And if we lose one more game, we're not going to be bowl eligible, which could all happen against Hawaii. I figured we'd at least beat schools like them and UNLV, but they had 520 total yards of offense against us. And this season's over. It doesn't matter what happens in the final few games. As we lost more games, I figured that we'd also lose more recruits, but it turns out besides this one kid, the UNLV, we didn't lose a single battle this season. And I don't know if it's just guys wanting playing time, or maybe it has to do with the fact that we upset number 11 Notre Dame, but something made them willing to give our program a second look, and I appreciate it. We're still building. We're not to that playoff level yet, but Juan Clay ended up having a pretty good year for us despite going 3 for 9. We also averaged the most yards per carry with our running backs we've ever seen. And Evan Draft, our best receiver, still has 1 year left with us because he's he's just a junior. It was only a matter of time, though, before some players would decide that they want to transfer out. These are the guys that we're losing to graduation and the portal. Not too many guys at all, and we could replace that linebacker with a transferred-in linebacker from the state of California who plays for Sam Houston. One thing I did notice, though, was our team prestige went up to 2 stars, which works so weird because we dropped down to 1 star from 1.5 stars last year after going 5-7. I'm thrilled with that, though, because it's going to give us more hours to work with. We currently have 32 players on our board. All of them are 3 stars, and I think we have a chance at signing every single one of them, so we'll see what ends up happening. We are going to win quite a few battles, but I also saw a lot of them that we weren't favored in. Over the weeks, other schools like UCLA just came in and they had a little bit better of a pitch, so they actually stole quite a few prospects from us, but outside of that, we got everyone else. 28 players total, but I've already checked. All of them are from the state of California, so this year we don't have to get rid of anybody. I didn't make any mistakes adding someone to our board that wasn't from that state. And I'm going to have a lot of work to do in position changes, but there's some interesting players that I think could be our best quarterback going forward. We might have recruited too many, though, because Daniel Cummins is a 75 overall 3-star quarterback. That's pretty rare to find. If you look at our quarterback room, there are far too many guys in here. So now it's only right to move some of these other players over to some other positions. I think it's much better to over-recruit than under-recruit, though. We're seeing some big overall jumps out of these players. Solid defensive line, Juan Clay's an 87, and I think this entire team is made up of just kids from California now. It might have taken a few seasons to get to this point, but now we're in a position where we're just going to redshirt a lot of the talent that we have, especially if they're freshmen, because we want to keep them around for 5 years. And then 3 to 4 years from now, this team should be in a position with 46 freshmen where they're going to be good enough to compete for a spot in a bowl. That'll allow us to keep progressing forward. What it also means, though, is this current class doesn't need to be the biggest in the world. We can try our luck at a 5-star recruit even if he's a bust. Or maybe I'll go after the 4-star Jim instead. Either way, I have some moves to make. It's about time that I start to spend in the recruiter tree again, so I'm probably going to purchase tier 3, always be recruiting for a couple positions. It'll allow us to increase our weekly recruiting hours. And then looking at our schedule, it's not going to be the most friendly in the world to open up. We're probably going to lose a lot of those games, but it'll get easier as the year goes on. What I ended up building out for our board is the first players that we're going after are all 4 stars or 5 stars. Some of them are gyms. I don't think we're going to land any of them, but it is worth a shot, and I'll talk more about a player if it seems like we're actually going to get him. To open up our season, we're in a position where we should be able to compete with Stanford, but they keep on getting us onto 3rd down. We're going to have to stand in the pocket, wait until our drag routes gets open, and that's going to allow us to calmly pick up like 25-30 yards. It obviously has not been the most impressive offensive game yet, but that's because we have no running game at the moment. On 3rd down, we're going to go back to our drag route. This is what's gotten us down the field so far. We break the tackle with Deer, and Deer goes to the 3. Titus Deer almost had the play of the season in week 1 if he could have just gotten a few extra yards. And they've been stuffing the line, making it impossible to run in, so we're trying to throw for the touchdown, but it's a pick, and it's not just one pick. No, it could also potentially be a pick 6. I did all of that work to just throw this game away at the end of that drive, and that made me realize either we have to work on our offensive line, or having a player that was supposed to be a quarterback being our running back isn't the best decision in the world. He is just 74 spin move. No wonder he's struggling. At least we have Eastern Michigan on our schedule next, so we should be able to bounce back. But we lost to them as well by 3 points, so we're most likely going to open up this season starting 1-5, and there's no shot we make a bowl. I have no idea how I'm going to convince these guys that they're better off just committing to our school. I feel like over time we're going to lose these battles, and I'm going to try to get us a win over Arizona State to save that, but it's going to be hard. They are clearly taking this game very seriously for whatever reason. They have all of their crowd in goal, so it would be hilarious if we could just spoil this day and we run it in with our former QB. Every so often, he's got a cool little burst of acceleration. I also like their throwback logos on these helmets, and I might not have been able to take down Stanford, but with how well defensively we've played in this game, I'm starting to think that we're about to be a top 25 program on the road. We're in a little bit of danger here because we can't take a safety, so I'm trying to make sure that doesn't happen. But once we pick up a 1st down, we should be golden, and I've decided to throw the ball because I figured they weren't expecting it. Arizona State's offense has let them down in this game. They only scored 7 points. And it's not like our offense had the best performance in the world, but they did what they needed to get us on top. I'm not done hopping into games, though, because I also think we should play on the road at number 5 Iowa. It means I can't hop into any other games this season since I limit myself to 3, but if you look at our board, if we want any chance at landing these 4 and 5 stars, we need to keep on winning. Some of these players care about our championship contender grade, which continues to rise, and there's limited top talent like that in the state of California. Since I'm only recruiting in the state, I can only go after so many guys. This is our opportunity to impress them, and on a 3rd and 9, Juan Clay saw that they were in man-to-man coverage, so he just takes it in. I'm really wishing that we could have come out on top against Stanford now, because I see high potential for this team, but then we gave up 17 straight to Iowa, and that's how we find ourselves down down by 4. We just don't play as well as we need to for the full 4 quarters. That's the story, but they aren't going to get back to Devin. And the way that he just beat them off of the line was perfect. On 3rd and 8, we're looking to hold them as well. We had no one out there on the sideline, but they marked it as a 4th and inches, so we're talking about a potential top 5 upset on the road. We just need to break off a big play or something. That's what we're going to be going for on this drive. Hawkinson is slow, but we know that Iowa's known for their good defense, so that could also be a part of it. They haven't been able to get us off of the field yet, and we've gotten the clock down to less than 4 minutes. But at some point, I figured we'd have a run that doesn't go for as many yards, so we'll also throw it. It really helps that Juan Clay hasn't turned it over once in this game. It's going to be 3rd and 1. But we're under 2 minutes. They've been using all their timeouts, so if we pick this up, the game is over. Now we have a tough decision to make. We could also end the game with a 4th and 3 conversion, or we could trust our defense, go up by 6 points. And you know what? After getting back-to-back sacks, I think that we made the right decision. They have nowhere to go. It is now 4th down and extremely long. We'll see if they're able to even come close to converting. Multiple guys out there ready to make a tackle. Come on, somebody bring this kid down. Nope. EA, we're not doing this right now. We're not doing this. This is just, I don't know what to say. Like, I just have never seen such a dumb way for us to go down. I shouldn't have clicked on. Maybe it was my fault still. I don't know. I'm genuinely just speechless. I'm sitting here rewatching the replay over and over. We might have gotten a little bit unlucky there, but that doesn't mean that you have to count us out of this game. All it is going to take is us getting in field goal range, and we're still fine in this. We have all 3 of our timeouts left, but we're going to have to start sending it down the field, seeing if there's anything open, and we've beaten the Iowa corner deep. He better not get a hand back on that football. Well, it is now 4th and 9. We actually ended up being in this position. That is such a great throw. And here's my thought. We just put some slants out there on the field. We pick up like 10 or 15 more yards, and they're going to intercept us. They're going to intercept us because I didn't throw it hard enough. They're getting the pick 6 too. Whatever. Iowa can have this win. I don't even want to touch this game. Rest of the night. Nope. Don't want anything to do with it. But unfortunately, I have a flight to catch tomorrow, so I'm just going to be here until we can finally get a championship. All of these close battles that we're going to lose on gyms is probably what's going to hurt me the most. I don't know what we can do to get this guy to choose our school over either of these. And I know it's early on in the year, but I've already hopped into every game that I can this season. There is still part of me that believes this team can make it to a bowl, but I do unfortunately have to report that we ended up losing on more battles for the 4 stars than we ended up winning. UCLA, just like with the 2 stars, just like with the 3 stars, they just keep on stealing the guys I won. And no matter what, it seems like 4-star quarterback Isaac Griffin is going to give us a shot, but whenever it comes to our first 5-star potentially, Stanford just jumped into the league. We don't exactly have the best pitch for Martin Lima. He's also a bust, but he is coming on a visit this week against UMass. And going into this matchup, we're sitting at 2-5, but we'll see what happens. If we were going to have a chance at making a bowl game, that was one of the ones that we needed to win, but it's another loss. We fall into 2-6. And I might as well just take our points off of Martin Lima now. The way I see it, we're a couple unlucky results away from sitting at 5-3. But it's not too late for this season to be saved. We beat UCLA, who has just been a pain in recruiting. So it feels good to get one on them, and we're closing out this season playing 3 group of 5 opponents. We need to win every single one of these matchups, but that is the best result I think we've had so far. And next up is Western Kentucky, who is an 84 overall, so we're going to have a really lucky result. But we got it, and this is going to make us 5-6. That means it's all going to come down to us versus Colorado State. Now, I will give them their credit. They're 8-3 on the season. They're an 82 overall. But we've been on a tear, and with one more sim result going our way, we're going to finish 6-6. We might have to sit through the pain of seeing our rivals, Stanford, have their quarterback win the Heisman Trophy, but at least we are showing progress. We're going to be getting our kicker winning the Lou Groza Award. Wasn't expecting that, and then, of course, the main thing, our bowl game's going to be against Middle Tennessee. They average 7 more points per game than us. They're 8-4, but this is one that I still think we could win. And it is going to be taking place on the teal field here at Coastal Carolina. It's a long way to travel across the country just for our fans to have to sit in the rain, but we're trying to make it worth it. It is currently 13-all, but we have a chance to take the lead on this drive, and we're going to be at the 6. We'll see if Juan Clay is able to throw for the touchdown. His receiver never got open. And I've got to get Hawkinson off of these jet sweeps. Normally they don't work, but if the blocks are that good, we'll still get in. The main thing that has carried us, though, has been our 2 edge rushers on defense. They're both seniors, and they will be gone next season, so we need to close this one out now. If we're going to win a bowl game, this is the perfect opportunity. They have the flat open on 3rd down. They're going to fight for the first, but they didn't get enough, and I thought that they might just go for a short little run. Instead, they make a great catch against us. This is not the time to be giving up stuff like that. They've handed it off whenever I thought that they were going to throw, and I'm noticing a theme, so we're going to sell out for the run and make them pay. All right, here on 3rd down, I got stuck on a defensive lineman, and we didn't get in time, but we are forcing them to to use some timeouts. That's good, because if they end up getting in the end zone, we need to have our chance to respond. I had a quarterback spy out there for a reason, and we're not going to lose another game off of dumb stuff happening to us. He didn't get his feet down. There is no review or anything. I can't believe it. That probably had a decent chance at being a catch, and they just didn't check. We can look after the game and see if it was. It was a super close call, but either way, Sacramento State has won their first bowl game. To be entirely fair, there is a ref right there, and it looks like he just never got that right toe down before his knee hit the ground itself. I do wish they did a little bit more with instant replay and challenges though, because that could have been a nail-biting moment where we sat there waiting for the ref to make a decision. And I know there's people on the EA team that think about how to make the game more immersive, not just cookie cutter. It is what it is though. At least Stanford didn't win it all. Clay is now graduated, so we're gonna have to roll with one of these like 7 quarterbacks that we have on our roster. We still have yet to have a good running season, and receiving wise, I want a 1,000-yard receiver next year. That might be asking a lot, but we're losing our best 2 players on defense, so we're gonna have to score a lot more points to keep up with other teams. And I'll take 2 fourth-round picks. It's gonna give our pro potential grade a little bit of movement. I figured more players might be willing to consider our school now, and that's exactly what has happened. We have a couple of the top transfers in the country from California open to come into Sacramento State. And I think if I just put 5 more coach points into always be recruiting for our defensive line, we'll be able to sign both of them, and it's looking like we might finish off this class with 20 players. To make that happen though, I'm gonna have to be correct on the 2 hard sells I've guessed for the 4-star transfers. And even that wasn't enough to get both of them, but at least we got one. Even if we ended up losing some other battles as well, I'm pretty happy with the class we put together. It's not the biggest in the world. We only signed 16 players, but they were quality. And we're just gonna keep on building our overall up every single season while going after some better prospects. We're now sitting at an 86, so I feel like we should be able to make it to a bowl again. But we have a decision to make. Which one of these guys is gonna be our starting quarterback? And there is a lot of them to choose from. We actually hit on quite a few that could be good for us, but I have to get rid of some of the other guys. We can't just have like 10 QBs in our room. And that'll give us a couple extra spots to sign players with. Since we only have 8 seniors, we're really just going to be looking for quality to build out this roster. For whatever reason, we are now being perceived extremely highly. We're ranked in the top 25 to start the year, 21. And I still haven't figured everything out, like who's going to start for us yet or not. But what I do know is this is the schedule that we're going to be going up against, and I think we could make it back to a bowl for sure. It is going to take me playing well for a couple of games, like going on the road and beating Arizona. But if you look at our team on paper versus theirs, we size up pretty well. And I settled on Whiteheart being our quarterback. I did choose a lefty, which I didn't realize at the time. After this game though, I'll be able to explain why I chose him. I think I ended up making the right decision. And he's gotten us into a 4th and 1 situation where I accidentally player locked. What was supposed to happen was I was supposed to take that halfback snap and take it in. But it still worked out for us, and in the final few minutes, we are in a spot where we are currently only up by 1. We're not going to get the 3rd down, which means we are going to have to rely on our defense in the final few minutes, and this punt being decent, they are not going to scoop it up. What we really need though is to get them off the field on this 4th and 2. I have a feeling they're going to run the ball. They went straight up the middle, and it's a close call, but if the refs are going to give us the ball, then we are not going to question it. All we need is 1 first down. It wasn't easy, but we were able to handle Arizona. And here's why I settled for Alani Whiteheart over Daniel Cummins. Even though Cummins is a year younger, he's faster, and he also has some better abilities. I guess another problem with Whiteheart is I just don't like using left-handed quarterbacks, but his accuracy can get better. While if we look at Daniel Cummins, he's a few inches shorter, and these are the stats that he's stuck with. I just don't think you could win a championship with those numbers. By this point, there's other quarterbacks on the roster that could pass them up in the future as well, which is why I don't have any on our recruiting board. We have 4 4-star gyms and then a couple of other 4-stars. And I feel like for a team being ranked 15th in the country, those are the types of guys that we should be targeting. We ended up winning again by only scoring 21 points, which I don't think is too surprising. And I've just had to accept that there are some players that we're not going to land, so we could use those hours to schedule other guys for visits. Ideally, we're going to go into our game against Iowa next week, sitting at 3-0. There's no reason that we should fall. And this is the type of performance I want to see out of Alani Whiteheart. It doesn't really mean that much. It's inflated, it's against a worse opponent, but it still makes me feel good about this roster. And there's something else I should do before we hop into this one. We have 55 coach points available, which means we can unlock the tactician tree and then spend quite a bit. And one thing that always seems to need improvement is our offensive line, so we're going to focus on that, and then we're going to help out our defensive backs too, since we have 5 on the field at once. With that out of the way, I'm ready to hop into this game, but I just noticed the team builder is spelled as Hornet. It's spelled wrong. And that seems to happen a lot with some of the team builders I use, but I think it's to get around the EA copyright system. That should have been a touchdown. And I'm pretty disappointed in Eric Hawkinson for not bringing it in, but we're still going to score the next play. We just had to find somebody else on our team that can actually catch. And after another drive down the field on 3rd and 11, I'm hitting the drag because our tight end can run under it. He's been solid for us. He's been consistent, and with this run, it's 21-6. And all I'm going to say is at one point we had control of this this game, and now it's starting to fall apart. With 7 minutes left, the Hawkeyes have gotten it back within 2, and we really need this field goal to extend our lead again. But then they scored a touchdown, so none of that matters, and there's a flag for this play. I figured it was going to be holding. This will just bring us back farther, putting us on a 2nd and 20 where we're going to have to do something here to get those yards back. We cannot fumble. I'm really hoping on 3rd and 11 that we can roll out and hit Stoner with this pass. We're just going to lay it into his hands. He runs under it. We're inside the red zone, and we are not going to blow our undefeated season yet. There's a chance that we can maintain it. We are going to have to pick up this 3rd and 8 though, where I've decided to go with the halfback screen, hoping that our blocks hold up, and Rahman breaks 1 tackle. That's not enough, but I'm not willing to kick a field goal here. I am going to be aggressive, and it's going to pay off. I've already had 1 heartbreaking loss to the Hawkeyes. I don't want them to get the ball in the final seconds. We saw what happened last year whenever they needed a miracle play, so we're making sure that can't happen. But we might be going to overtime anyway. We'll see if I try to fit this into that window, and they made a play on the ball. I think we're good to go for a QB sneak here, but if we lose to Iowa in another bad way, I would have been so upset. That was a close call too. He busted straight through that hole, but he couldn't make a play in time. He would have needed to be just a tad bit quicker. And I probably counted out Bobby Raymond way too soon. The high school quarterback turned running back has been a great piece for us. We should be able to go to 5-0. And it wasn't pretty. We beat Washington State 7-6, but now I have to decide which of these games is going to be the final one I hop into this season. Outside of that, I don't have much else to think about because with recruiting, I'm basically done with it. There's a few more 4-stars that are probably going to go to some other schools. We could still win them at the very end, but we don't want to sign a big class. We don't know who's going to want to join us during the transfer portal, and we'll see what happens in Gainesville. That was always going to be a tougher one for this team, but because we play such a hard schedule, it shouldn't hurt our ranking too much. And in the span of 1 week, I ended up losing all 3 of these battles. It means I could start to go after some more guys again. I just don't think we're going to need them. It's more important that this current group of guys develops with playing time and getting huge wins like this one. It's starting to feel like we're going to see Sacramento State in the playoffs. But then we lost an in-state game to San Diego State, which is going to give us our 2nd loss. Unfortunately, we might need to be perfect from here on out if we're still going to be in the playoff conversation. But I have no shame in losing to NC State. They had a really solid roster, and we didn't drop any in the polls, so if we beat Stanford, we might still be able to get in at 9-3. In most of my rebuilds, just like in real life, Stanford's no longer very relevant, but of course the one time that there are rivals, now they're going to be great. And I think it's because they're winning so many recruiting battles versus us, so this roster is built of players that I wanted at our school. Winning this game would be a massive deal, and we should have a touchdown, except it's going to be underthrown. We somehow still caught it. And that was just an incredible job of locating the ball throughout the air. It was also one of my favorite players on this team, Titus Steer, just because he's made some great plays for us. But on a 3rd and 28 after that loss, all you can really do here is just send up a prayer, and he was supposed to be on a streak. Stanford could have taken that opportunity to score points, but they didn't. And that's how we're here in the 4th quarter, with them still having 0 points on the board, but I don't think we're going to be able to stop them. We do. Their aggressiveness in this game has not paid off for them. I don't know what I'm looking for here. Maybe just throwing it to Johns. That was lucky. I had to check down wide open for the longest time, but I had to make it difficult, and now we're going to continue to move it down the field. As you can see, offense hasn't really been a key part of this game for either team. For us, though, it's just been the fault that I can't really audible, and we're going up to Deer again. This time he can't put a hand on it. If I could have just gotten that other route to go in another direction, we would have had a touchdown there. This field goal, though, is going to put us up by 10. And you best believe we have quarterback spies out there on the field for whatever they want to try. It looks like they're going to get off one more play before the 2-minute warning, and I'm still there to cover all those routes. They've thrown it straight to us. But instead of intercepting the ball, we just smacked it instead. No reason for that. We do it again. I don't understand our players. We could close out a win versus a top 2 team on the road. But no, instead we're going to put the ball in the hands of Raymond where he has nowhere to go. I think I'm going to be able to pull this read option for a decent gain though, and I cannot let us get held to a 3-and-out. They sent that guy instead of having him play coverage so we can end it. That was the easiest read I've ever made in my life. I know, it's hard to believe that I actually made a good one. And it might not have been the prettiest win in the world, but if we could really get this team to the playoff, we'd be in a great spot. Do we have what it takes to win it all at this point? No shot, but it would raise our team prestige by quite a bit. And with the right result against another one of our rivals, we're just 1 win away. This is it. We're number 10 in the country. All we have to do is beat Toledo. There's no conference championship game to survive. And here's the thing. We might not have the most impressive recruiting class in the world, but what we do have is a top 12 team going into the final weeks of the year. I feel like being ranked number 8 in the country as a 9-3 team ahead of 9-3 East Carolina and TCU, we should be fine. We're not about to drop far in the polls during conference championship week. And the only reason we've made it this far is because it's been an awful year for a lot of other teams. There weren't many good programs up there. I will note that, but at least we're going to be in the playoffs and we can keep on spending in tactician. If we end up running into a player like John Boodle, I don't think we're going to be able to stop him even with with those extra upgrades, but we'll see who we get in the playoff. It's going to be Ole Miss. And if we happen to get through this game, we would have to play number 1 Oregon. There you have it. Our ceiling's the quarterfinal, but I don't even think we're going to get there because Ole Miss scores 37 points per game. That is a big step up from some of our opponents. And as the lower seeded team, we are also going to have to play this one on the road, which makes it even more difficult. In fact, headed into the fourth quarter, we've only been able to score 10 points, but now we're going back to Johns. One of the few players I can lean on consistently, and if we just hit our running back, we're going to be at the 20. I wish we got things going a little bit sooner offensively, but we're figuring it out. And with 9 minutes left on the clock, we're going to run to the 4. This is where I'm expecting us to just finish it off with some good blocks, but the Rebels have driven all the way down the field versus us, and that was a good throw. That honestly should have been a touchdown. They were able to place it exactly where we weren't. They've done it again. And I'm at the point where we might just need to start taking some deep shots, seeing if we can make a play on the ball. But I'm going to be relieved whenever we lose Hawkinson. He's not been one of my favorite receivers to use. Our blockers didn't hold up there. And after that moment, there was no saving us in this game. We might not have been good enough to make a championship run this year, but we got some experience, and the Rebels made it all the way to the national championship before losing. Whenever I saw they averaged 37 points per game, that's when I should have known it was over. This is what our stats look like for the year. Running wise, this is the best season we've had yet. And I said I wanted to have a 1,000-yard receiver this time around. Lionel Ganther came pretty close, but he couldn't hit that total. We will never have to see Eric Hawkinson take another snap for us at receiver, though. Taking a look at some of the players we're losing to graduation and to the NFL as a projected first-round pick, some of these are going to hurt. At the same time, though, it's okay because this is how we maintain our pro potential school grade, which is exactly how I've been able to sign guys like this in the past. We have a couple guys on our board that we're going to go after as transfers. But I think this is it for additions to this team. Over the next couple years, I believe we've built a good enough roster to win a championship, so I'm not going to recruit. It's not my favorite way to do things, but bringing on extra players will bring your overall down. It'll make it harder to win it all. And we're just going to have to work with what we got here at Sacramento State, which I think is enough. This class was far from perfect, but it filled all the needs that we had. It replaced the seniors that we lost from the state of California. And if I think we're going to be going for a championship in the next couple of years, I need to move Lamont John over to left tackle, and then we're going to make him a tight end the year after. We have some solid tight ends, but nobody that stands out as a great player yet, which is why I need to make those moves. As you can see, with these training results, we have some really good players on this team. Still not good enough to win it all, and it really stinks we're going to lose him to the NFL after a year, but definitely making progress forward, and I wish Alani Whiteheart would go up more in overall. It seems like he spent most of his focus working on his physical abilities this year instead of improving stuff like accuracy. But next year, we should be a 93, 94 overall team, and I think that would allow us to run through a schedule like this, while this time around, we're probably going to go 9-3 again. Here's the thing about 9-3 though. Last year, that was good enough to get us into the playoff. I'd assume it'd be the same this time. And that's why I'm not too worried against USC, even if we're trailing. This is a huge play that we've got to pick up, and I saw that we beat the press over there. We're going to catch it. We're running underneath it, and I think we're gone. For us to just get back into this game, it basically took a last-second miracle. That was our last chance. And it's going to be interesting to see how USC handles this. They could take it to overtime, or they could go for the field goal. I think we're best off just dropping players back and trusting our D. But I am a little bit worried now that they picked up another first down. We're going to cover things deep, and we got to knock that out. Thankfully, even though it looked like they made the catch, there was a booth review. And that's going to be it. They aren't even getting off another snap. They're willing to go to OT. We're going to be starting out on offense where they are sending in blitzes, which is why we've just taken our slant and gone to the 5. But these last 5 yards are the hardest ones to pick up. We haven't gotten much in this game. We're just going to have to hope that that guy on the right side of the field doesn't bite on this jet sweep. And that makes it 3rd and goal, but look at the formation they're out there in. This is the easiest touchdown of all time. I really don't know what they were thinking there. We'll see if they try to test us or if they go for something shorter. We have a QB spy. And that's why you always keep one out on the field. They're going to go to the corner. We're going to pick it off with Verrett, and we're going to beat USC. That was a hard-fought win at home in front of a sold-out home crowd. A great win to pick up. And after getting a win like that, we just have to hope that it continues. If Melvin Cantu can put up numbers like this, I'd like to think that it would. But you all already know how this goes. You know how sim works in this game. We're going to drop it. Now we're playing Charlotte, who's also ranked inside the top 25. If we end up losing this one against them, we're going to drop out of it. But at least that didn't happen, and I think we're going to sim the next 3 weeks despite Arizona State starting the season ranked, because we're going to play against Notre Dame and then against either Miami or Tennessee. If the Sun Devils are already struggling this season, they should continue to against us. And from there, we just kept on winning, which puts us at 5-1 going into this matchup at Notre Dame. They've actually dropped out of the top 25, but I think we should still play them on the road because it's going to be in a difficult environment, and we've only been able to climb up to number 11. If we're going to lock ourselves into the playoffs, we still have a good way to go throughout this year. And getting a win like this could end up being a huge difference maker. I guess I should have expected us to be in control of this one the entire time though, because we have. They haven't been able to move the ball. This game's over unless they literally literally score a touchdown on this play, which isn't going to happen. We're able to force another turnover, and we could even make this 35-14 with a good enough return. I'm a lateral it back. We're going to go for another one. It's a fumble. It doesn't really matter. We're establishing ourselves as the best independent school this year. And the best part is Alani Whiteheart still has another season after this. What did I say? That result was extremely important. It's allowed us to climb up to number 4 in the polls. And I just have to hope that throughout sim, our team doesn't lose another game that they should. That's honestly one of the hardest parts about these rebuilds. You can get fluky results that you can't account for, but we handled Kansas. And to finish out the year, I can still hop into one more game, but that's about it. And we have some tough opponents coming up. All that we really needed to do was get through both Miami, Hawaii, and I'd be feeling a lot better. It was a close call against the Rainbow Warriors, but we just took them down, and now we play both Tennessee and Syracuse. I can still hop into one of these two games, so we're going to pick the one against the Orange. I think we could just see ourselves falling to Tennessee no matter what we do. It was at Neyland. They're trying to find their way back into the playoff hunt, so they ended up destroying us 43-15. This is what I thought would happen. And we're still going to be okay, assuming that we beat Syracuse, because that'll keep us inside the top 12. I'll just spend 20 more points in Tactician, making our receivers perform a little bit better, because that's one of the position groups that hasn't been getting any stat boosts. And after taking care of that, I think we can take care of Syracuse too, but they're an 88 overall. However, this team has not played as well as I thought they would. We're currently down by 11 points. We're going to have to make some huge plays. And I do not want to know how our receiver feels after taking a hit like that. That was a pretty nasty hit. And that's a pretty nasty throw, just lots of inaccurate passes that are going to cost us this game. And what can you do about it? We just had a really tough schedule. Syracuse wasn't even ranked whenever we put them on there, so they just had a great year and ended up finishing inside the top 10. And I'll just have to craft our schedule a little bit better next season because I don't want to be outside of the playoffs. I don't want to have a bowl game against Bowling Green. To be fair though, only scoring 25 points per game, there's still a lot that we could do better offensively. And I'm not even sure if running the air raid playbook's the best fit for this offense. Look at that though, we're gonna have to play in the snow, so we are completely out of our element. And that's led to us being in an extremely close scoring game, which we are the best at. As we get closer to the end, I'm not gonna throw dumb interceptions. I'm not gonna give them a chance to get back in it. I'm really just looking to make sure that we are able to end this year with another win. And how'd they almost catch it? That was a little bit of a close call, but we have won the Myrtle Beach Bowl in a ton of snow. And I guess the good part is all of these guys that were on this team this year are just gonna be returning for another year. We almost rushed for 1,000 yards, so we don't really need to change up the playbook if we want to run more. Those are some of the better numbers I've seen on the rushing side of things, but receiving still isn't there. I can kind of understand why though. We need to give these guys more time to progress. And since I was so confident I didn't recruit this year, if we don't win it all in the next 2 seasons after this, that's where we're in a lot of trouble. Stanford just took home the trophy, who is a team that we could definitely take down, so it is something that we can achieve. I don't think we're going to convince Ted to come back, unfortunately. He is off to the first round of the NFL draft. But that's okay. I'm going to move some guys around and I'm sure we can find a perfect replacement. I always enjoy these final position change periods because you can have a lot of fun with the overalls. Like Lamont John, since sitting at left tackle, is now about to go up to a 90 overall tight end. And if I really wanted, Dorian Murphy could make for a good receiver after sitting at tight end for a while. You kind of just move guys around and see what sticks. I'm gonna see if we can get Bobby Raymond any better stats with what he has so far. But I didn't have any luck there, so I'm looking for another guy that could play running back in case he gets hurt, and I think Anthony Sexton's a perfect fit. By the time we get to training results, this is the most important one that we've checked out this entire video. 94 overall roster is about what I was expecting, though I don't see too many players above that 92 overall threshold I was hoping for. Though I have seen all that I need to out of Alani Whiteheart. He's a 90 overall QB. We also might just start Anthony Sexton because he is 3 speed more than Bobby Raymond, and he's not a former quarterback. At our receiver position, we didn't get any guys progressing much farther. But again, I think the most important part is Alani Whiteheart has jumped up to a 90 overall, and he has maxed out all of his stats. For whatever reason, he only has 76 medium throw accuracy. It's the one throw accuracy of his that's a little bit off, but if we fill out this tactician tree, eventually we'll be able to help him with it. We just need more coach points. They're certainly hard to come by, and I am going to make some roster cuts because it can cause your overall to jump up even more. Ours did a little bit, and if you take a look at this schedule, I've definitely made sure that we have 6 top 25 teams on it, but it's not going to be as intense as the past couple years. We have some more regional opponents, and I think we'll be able to get to the playoffs at the end of the year. If we still go 9-3 with this team and miss out, that's just the way it goes. And if there's one thing I have realized, it's improviser quarterbacks don't do that well. Yes, Stanford's defense is really good, but we're starting this 4th quarter with only 7 points on the board. We don't have the speed to outrun this kid for a touchdown, unfortunately, until we break the tackle. And Alani Whiteheart doesn't feel like a 90 overall. The 2-point conversion would also be extremely nice, but we're going to have to be patient and fit it in that window. And Stanford just picked us off instead, which is why we've needed to move it down the field. We stopped them, we've had another successful drive, and all of a sudden, I am feeling a lot better. Not for very long though. They tied things up at 20, and we need to pick up this 3rd and 18. We should not have gotten that there, but at least we were able to make the catch, and if that's cover 2, we're going to be able to make another. Although we're a 95 overall team, we sure aren't playing like it yet, which is a little concerning. But maybe throughout the year things will change, and we just need to run out some time. If Stanford never touches the ball again, that would be perfect. I just might be making a big mistake going for it on 4th and 1, and we're going to have to fight our way through. I don't know why our offensive line just refuses to block some of the time still. But at this point, Stanford knows what's going on. We're trying to run off some clock, and we're going to take those checkdowns. This has been an intense way to end this game against them, an intense way to start the year. But at the end of the day, the better team is going to win, even though they almost blocked the kick. Then we get to celebrate with our Clemson Tiger mascot. I still don't understand how that bug ever became a thing in this game. They should add that to Team Builder in the next year, though. Allow us to create some mascots. For our next couple of games now, I scheduled both of the New Mexico schools, which I thought would be easy wins. But how that normally works is the teams that I schedule for us to beat up on, we normally lose to, so I'm glad that we destroyed them. We still need to do that one more time before I'll feel good about it, though. New Mexico State went 2-10 last season, and on top of taking them down, we also beat an FCS school, so now we're 4-0, about to play on the road at North Texas. This is one of those matchups that I don't feel amazing about simming. They're ranked 21st in the country, but they're just a 79 overall. And after spending our next 10 coach points, we're going to be ready to sim. It was certainly a close call, but we ended up winning, even though they had almost 200 total yards of offense more than us. And even though we're the highest overall team in the country, even though we're occupying the #1 spot in the country, I don't feel like we're the best team. I don't know, there's just something about this roster that I feel like is going to mess things up once we get to the playoffs. But I have to make sure that we make it there in the first place, which is why we're playing against South Carolina. Once again, it's another team that's put up a pretty good fight against us. But our defense makes it so hard to win, and on 4th down, they got lucky. They shouldn't have been able to pick that up. I'm about to cover this entire side of the field with Hennessy. And South Carolina's being aggressive. They're going for the 2-point conversion, but it was smart. We had full control of this game until about a second ago, and our running back block is not going to hold, unfortunately. So we're going to have to get a defensive stop against South Carolina, unless we can have a miracle go our way on this 3rd and 21, but that throw is out of reach. If we end up losing this game, I'm really not going to want to talk about it. And the closer South Carolina gets to the end zone, the worse that I am feeling. It's now 3rd and goal from the 1. I ran commit thinking they would just run it, but they didn't, and there was a flag against the Gamecocks. It's holding. All I'm going to say is we have been bailed out. We do not deserve this. They're going to take the drag. It's going to be 4th and 4. And I am on the quarterback spy, which is not good news because I'm going to have to control him, but we're going to chase him down. There's another one that we almost blew, but at least we get the right result whenever it counts. And I will never count out Northern Illinois just because of what they did against Notre Dame this year. This is exactly why as well. Northern Illinois came out on top. I don't know how they have managed to do it. 14-11. We must have dealt with an injury throughout the game or something, but that leaves us with 5 games left on our schedule being ranked 17. I can only hop into one more, and if we lose any of these, then we're probably not going to be in the playoffs. After that loss to NIU, I am extremely terrified of what each one of these results is going to be. But at the moment, the game says we have nobody on the injury report, so I just have to trust that they're going to continue to take care of business. I mean, it seems like we're going to be okay whenever we're winning games by this much, but I do think something that's going to help is we have spent our last coach points making sure that we've boosted short and medium throw accuracy. That's going to make Alani Whiteheart a 91 overall, and I think I want to play against Notre Dame to end the year, so we're simming the next 2 as well. With the easy handling of both Pittsburgh and Ohio now, we're going into the final game 10-1. I'm just relieved that we bounced back after that one loss. It's ridiculous we even found ourselves in that spot in the first place, but we're sitting up here in the top 4, and Stanford's right below. Now, I don't know what had to go wrong with the schedule for us to play Notre Dame during Army-Navy week, but this doesn't feel right. And I wish that this wasn't going to be such a hard game for us to finish and close out, but it's going to be as Notre Dame's inside the 10. We have been the better team throughout the entire game, but they've come back at the end. And I've had to start taking timeouts just in case they happen to get into the end zone, which they almost did. It is now 3rd and goal. They have a guy in motion, so we can pass commit. We're going to have to make sure that they don't find anybody over the middle of the field and they have somebody open. I accidentally bumped one of their receivers, which hurts us, and I think the only acceptable way to respond was sending in a blitz. If we don't get to them extremely fast, then they're going to be able to score a touchdown, but we forced the ball loose. We've gotten the stop. And we just went from almost dropping out of the playoffs, who knows what that loss could have done to us, to making sure that we have home field advantage for the first round. This still feels like one of the weaker teams I've built in recent rebuilds, and of course we draw the SEC champion in the first round. But after that, if we make it to the quarterfinals, we'd get to play Miami, Ohio, so I can't be too upset about it. All things considered, it worked out pretty well for us, but as you can see, we're not going to have anybody that was capable of winning an award this year, not even on the defensive side of the ball. And I really don't know how how Cantu didn't because he had 21 sacks, but they just ignored it. Sometimes numbers don't equal awards on this game, though it is the best offense we've ever had, scoring 32 points per game. It's not the highest in the world, but it's decent. We always do just enough to win. I'm hoping that in this game we do more than that we're able to blow out Auburn. We break one tackle, but we don't even get a first. And we'll see what Whiteheart can do on third down. I wanted to hit our running back, but they were prepared. That was not the route that I thought he was on either, but a halfback toss on fourth down with a good block would have been fine for us. The cutback still works. And we are playing with fire against a team that barely even made it into the playoffs in the first place. It's going to be a hard run for us if we're actually going to win a championship with this team, but I believe that we can. And after going up 14-3 with this fullback dive, we'll see how long we can maintain that lead. It turns out for the entire game, our defense has made it pretty hard to come back. And every time that we get a stop, force them to punt it back to us, we have a chance to score even more. Going into this fourth quarter, I'm looking to ice this one, and we could if this throw is come back to. It's caught. And that was Lamont John, the guy that I trained up to be our good tight end. That was the exact type of win that we needed as well. Not even the best game out of Alani Whiteheart, but it was dominant, and it moves us on to the next round. We knew that this entire time we were going to have to play Miami, Ohio next. I was ready for it. And if I had to pick anybody in the playoff for us to face, this is who I'd choose. They have taken a 3-0 lead against us early, and I haven't done much scrambling, which is probably one of the reasons our offense hasn't been that good, but I'm still confident that we're going to score. There's just so many moments of miscommunication still that are driving me nuts where I'm just annoyed at how we're playing, and it shouldn't take us this long to get onto the board against the Redhawks. Luckily for us, though, we have a defense that has just held it down throughout this entire game, and that's been the real difference maker for us, but they're starting to slack off at the end. They're coming off of getting a pick 6, so they do have some room for error where I'm being a little bit more gracious. It doesn't seem to matter as much, and it'll be interesting to see if they run or pass on fourth down. This is cover 2. We have everything locked up. I'm sending dudes at their QB, and you can't get it. Although we didn't beat Miami, Ohio as bad as we beat Auburn, we were in control ever since we took a lead. And coming off of a 7-point win over Oregon, we're going to have to play Arkansas, but I'm more focused on the other side of the bracket where USC and Stanford are left. 3 of the 4 teams in the playoffs still are from California. They've been a couple of programs that have given us problems in the past, but we can't even worry about that yet because Arkansas just took down the 1 seed. So far, it's been a pretty tight game. On a third down, we're going to be able to take a lead though, and I got to start paying a bit more attention to whether or not a quarterback's left-handed. There's a reason that with 5 minutes left, we're losing in this game, and that's because I have felt extremely nerfed without having fast receivers that I can throw the ball up to and a lefty that can't scramble. Every so often though, we still have talent that can beat the press, and the 2-point conversion's a little bit more important where I think our tight end is going to be wide open. I'm a little bit scared to send in a blitz on third down here though. We almost knocked that ball loose. Instead he got free, and we're running a zone blitz on this play, which is probably going to confuse them or they'll find somebody open. It's all good though. We're in control of this game. With the final 2.5 minutes, we have the ball, and we'll see if we can do anything with it. I'm waiting for our receiver to stop on a dime, and he does. Murphy turns upfield. We're at midfield. We needed that so bad. I thought we were going to have to punt it back to the Razorbacks and then hope that we got a stop. They also need to watch out for our checkdowns. We still got time to get into field goal range at least, and if they're going to have nobody covering over there, then we're just going to go there immediately. That could have been bad. On 2nd and 12 here, we're going to beat the press, so that's going to allow us to get inside the 20, and we needed an accurate throw like that to help us clutch up and end it. This kick does not get any easier than this. We're going on to the Natty, and I told you all, I thought this team was special, even if they've given us a lot of scares. It turns out that we're going to have to play Stanford one more time as well because they have made it back to the championship, and this rivalry is literally just not going anywhere. They score more points per game than us, but we have the better team on paper. I'd still assume that there are a lot of players on Stanford that I wanted, so we can't let them win a national championship. We have to be the team that knows what that feels like, and our running back is going to need to make a play. Even if that didn't work out, we saw that Murphy could beat the press in the last game, so I'm almost going to just try him deep with 2 guys on him. I'm not sure how this is about to work. And that turnover was literally the start of our decline. We have not been able to score since until now. It might have taken us until the 4th quarter, but this is where champions are made. I'm not going to allow them to run for that first down. And I just wish we could take the top off of their defense like one time. I've been waiting for a look where we could, but they deflected it into a pick. They would then go on to score another touchdown, but I still believe that that look over the middle's there. And I just can't believe that we've even put ourselves in this position where we're going to have to come back big in the final couple of minutes. I better get ready for another season with Sacramento State. Though we did beat the press over there, they're not going to be able to stop us. And how we finish off this drive is extremely important. We need it to be quick, and Murphy's going to make that happen. For this third down play, I'm not quite sure what they're going to go with. I'm covering over the middle of the field, and we drop back way too far. It was a close call, but we just gave them the first down. They're going to lose some yards. And here we go. On 2nd and 14, a little bit of a jet touch pass that almost broke free. I really didn't know what to expect there. Another handoff. This time we got him. And do you know what that means? That means that if we have a touchdown drive here, we're going to win the national championship. We just can't make any mistakes at all, and we're almost getting out. I would like to think that we're going to be okay, but it all depends on how our blocking holds up. Here, we're going to just scramble for as many yards as we can get. I have some route combos out there that I think could work out for us pretty well, assuming we cut up field. But there is so much pressure on the line that I'm afraid I'm going to make a mistake, and then we're going to lose this game. It should have never gotten to this point in the first place. We have to prove that we're clutch. And is that some man-to-man coverage that I'm seeing? No, it's zone coverage, and I'm about to run into a sack. Never mind. We're in a great spot. We throw it to the 2, and we're in the end zone. I honestly thought we stepped out of bounds there. I didn't want to score that fast. And the reason for that is if we don't get this 2-point conversion, a field goal wins this game. Fortunately, I made the read, and it worked out for us, and they're just going for some checkdowns. But they aren't necessarily in a rush either, because they still have some of their timeouts remaining, and you're not going to scramble for much. Here on 1st and 10, yes, they have a new set of downs, but they're going to have to either throw it straight at me or they're going to have to run. And I've been dropping everybody back for a reason. We don't want to give up anything huge against them, though I've left that open. Nope, faked out the quarterback. That is how you seal an addy. I wasn't sure if we could get to that ball or not, but that is how you lurk a quarterback. And who knows, with all the money Sacramento State is raising NIL-wise, maybe this could be them in the future 7-8 years from now. The odds of that happening are extremely slim, but I've had a great time using them. And to be honest, I think I thought this team was a lot better than it was because of all the tactician boosts that we were using. You can see a lot of these guys weren't even going to get drafted, including Alani Whiteheart. He never put up Heisman winning numbers, but he carried us to winning a championship. And as this video is coming out, I think we're like 5 or 6 weeks away from the release of College Football 26, so there's only so many rebuilds left on this game, but if you've been enjoying them, check out the playlist.